This is Gwen Wild from Sensational Brain Speaking, and this video will serve as a guide to how to customize the BrainWorks app prior to use by a student. The first time that you download and open the app, you will be guided through an onboarding process with little tips about how to customize the various areas. But this is after all that. I've already gone through the onboarding process and I've begun customizing, and I want to include you from this point forward. So I've already added two of my very own teenagers as examples in the users list. I can swipe left, swipe left to edit any of the information about that user, her name or her image, but I've already done that, and now I want to add a third user, and I'm going to add my oldest daughter, Isabel. Choose an image from my library, and I'm going to add this image with her new puppy. Okay, now Isabel is added, and now I have three users. Now, to move on from this point, you select one, and you now see the location list. From here, I'm going to click on Settings and modify my locations list. When you first begin modifying things within the app, it will ask you for a 4-digit passcode. This prevents students from accidentally changing anything that you've included in the customization. Okay, so from here, let's say that Isabel doesn't go to a clinic. So I'm going to remove that. And she also doesn't use this in the community. She basically only uses it at home or at school. So I've removed those two locations. Now those will no longer show up on her locations list. Now I want to go into the How Do You Feel section within settings, and I enter that same 4-digit passcode that I already entered. Now let's say that I want to include a picture of Fast and Hyper that is different than the image that's included here. I would just click on the image, and I'm going to choose something from my gallery. And you know what? I am going to select a puppy because these are hyper puppies at the moment. So I'm going to select whatever be meaningful for that child. I can also change the description. I might call it Meltdown, or something that has a meaning for a child because of the way that it's used within their home or their school environment. So all of that's editable, and I can save that information, and now that will show up in the How Do You Feel list. Now I go back to settings, and the activities is where I'm going to spend most of my time. Now what you might want to do before you begin editing the activity list is go into each one, and I may see at home that when she's feeling slow and sluggish, these are the activities that are already preset within the app. These are default activities that we have determined are available in most people's homes and that are helpful for them when they are feeling slow and sluggish, or whatever feeling has been selected for this default activity list. So I just may look at this, and if there's one I want to remove, I make note of that to myself. Like crashing play. I know for this student, crashing activities cause her to escalate. So I'm just going to note that to myself, and when I am going through the activity customization process, I'm going to remove crashing play from her list. So to begin that process, I go into Settings and Activities, enter my 4-digit passcode, and I'm going to go ahead and remove that while I'm thinking about it. So I scroll down to crashing play. Here it is. And you can see that it's selected, there's a little description here, and then it's selected to appear in her home list. I'm going to deselect that because I don't even want it to be an option for her, okay? Once I do that, I don't necessarily have to select or deselect from the How Do You Feel because it's not going to appear anyway since I've removed it from her locations. So this activity will no longer show up for her in any setting. There may be a case where I would say it's okay if she does that at school, so I'm going to select school, but not select it for home or desk or table, okay? But in this case, I'm going to remove it from all of her locations. It won't show up anywhere for her. Now that I've removed whatever may need to be removed from the initial default activity list, I'm going to go back and just start going through all of them individually. And when I see an activity that I think could be beneficial for this student, like a beanbag chair, I know that she has a beanbag chair at her school, and that's helpful for her sometimes. And then I scroll down to how do you feel, and here what I'm doing is determining what feelings would be most likely for her to find benefit from sitting in the beanbag chair for some period of time. And I know that the beanbag chair helps her to calm down when she's feeling fast and stressed, and even sometimes when she's fast and hyper. So now the beanbag chair will show up as an option when she has chosen school as her location and fast and stressed or fast and hyper as her how do you feel settings. So I'm going to go through and do that for several activities. Biking, this is something that should be available to her when she's at home, and it really helps her no matter how she's feeling. Biking is one of those activities that helps no matter what for this particular student. I'm going to keep going. Bottles and sippy cups, she's too old for that, so I may want to go in and just make sure that does not appear anywhere. Nothing is selected, so I'm confident that's not going to appear on any of her activity lists. Let's see. Chores. Chores actually help this child. They help her when she's at home, and they help her when she's feeling fast and hyper. It kind of gives her a place to direct some of that energy. Now, I can change the image. I could select a picture of her actually doing the dishes and set that to come up as in the activity list rather than our image. So I might want to do that. I'm not necessarily going to do that in this case. Okay, so after I've gone through all of the activities and have made them available or unavailable in each of the settings where I think that would be appropriate, then I am going to ask myself, are there any additional activities that I want to add? And in this case, I'm going to add a boink, which is a finger fidget. And I'm just going to add that into the activity description here. And I want this to be available to her when she's at her desk or table. And it helps her no matter what, really. This is one of those things that is just beneficial for her to have available when she is listening. And it's going to ask me, do I want to choose an image from a gallery or from by taking a picture? And I'm going to choose the camera and take a picture of this right now. And this is a boink. Use the photo, and now if she selects desk and table, this is going to show up. So let's go back and see what that looks like for Isabel. Isabel, desk and table, I'm going to say no timer, fast and stressed, and the boink shows up here at the bottom of her activity list. So that's how you would add in customize activities. Okay, now let's go back into settings. And here is where you could change your passcode. If you forgot your passcode, we have instructions for how to reset that on our website, sensationalbrain.com, under the app page, or you can find it on this help page as well. Here is where I can select the amount of time that shows up on the student's timer. Anywhere from 1 minute to 20 minutes can be selected. Usually sensory breaks need to be at least 10 minutes if we're using the sensory break for the purpose of meeting a child's sensory threshold. But this time is usually best determined by an occupational therapist. Sometimes a physical therapist, speech therapist, or teacher who has advanced training can make that determination also. If you're a parent or a teacher using the app, I do encourage you to consult with your OT or other professional who has advanced training in sensory processing to making this determination. But typically 10 minutes is a good amount of time for most of us to reach our healthy sensory threshold. So I usually advocate for keeping it set for 10 minutes. And then again, you would select the done button and it will remain at 10 minutes until you adjust it again in the future, but you can do so at any time. So if the student then determines that they want to use the timer for their sensory break, it will automatically be set to 10 minutes and she sees that timer bar at the top of her activity list. She can scroll through, choose an activity to participate in. She may participate in or engage with puzzles for the entire 10 minutes of her sensory break, or she can click on the blue button to go back and select something else to participate in for some length of time. When her timer runs out, a happy blue guy appears on the screen to indicate that her sensory break is over, and hopefully now she is functioning at that just right level of arousal to move on to whatever is next on her agenda. I have other videos available to show you what the app looks like from the user's experience, but that's a quick little overview. Okay, I think that I covered most of what you can do during the customization process. I do recommend that you plan in about 30 minutes, at least for the first student you're setting this up for. Once you become a little bit more familiar with the process, it goes quicker for other students. Each one of these kids you can customize differently for. So for Isabel, we've narrowed it down to 3 locations. But if I go back and select Annalise, you'll see that all of the locations are available for her. If I am a clinic-based therapist, I may only want the clinic to be available for Annalise. So I may go through and remove all of the others. Now you'll see that the clinic is the only thing that appears on Annalise's location list. So that is the benefit of being able to customize this for a variety of number of users. Okay, please feel free to email me at gwen@sensationalbrain.com if you have any questions that can't be answered from our help page or the videos that are accessible through the help page or through YouTube. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy our app.